DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice. Presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Here now are your hosts for this episode, Vic Baker and Joe Fieldus.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumpubblicans, and Merry Tax Relief Christmas. Welcome to the Taxpayer Liberation, Regulation Rollback, Strzok Strike Force, Mueller Mess, Capitol Hill Grill, Roy Moore No More, Gillibrand Desperation, Pensacola Power, Chain Migration Terrorism, Jerusalem Rage Fizzle, to the moon and beyond, most busted name and news episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about President Donald Trump and his bold mission to put huge tax cuts into Santa's sack and move his America First agenda forward, while Chuck Schemer, Fancy Nancy, and the Democrats get huge lumps of coal, solid American coal, in their Scroogey Christmas stockings. Well, folks, Roy Moore was overwhelmed by the accusations over teenage girls. He lost the confidence of Republican voters in a state that Donald Trump carried by wide margins. His election would have given Democrats a load of ammunition to hit Republicans all the way to November of next year. Alabama has elected a Democrat who may have to work with Trump if he has any chance of getting reelected in 2 years. Time to move on, folks. President Trump is promising a very Merry Christmas for the hardworking American taxpayer. Bigger paychecks by February are likely now that Congress has struck a deal on a final tax reform bill that will provide a middle-class miracle and rocket fuel for American business expansion. Another promise kept by this transformational president. Of course, Marco Rubio and some others may still screw it up. Democrats are sitting on the sidelines again as Donald Trump gives America the biggest tax cut in its history and shreds thousands of pages from the convoluted tax code. So, an FBI agent who was pivotal in investigations of Hillary and Trump is exposed as a rabid anti-Trump conspirator. Text messages from Peter Strzok to his mistress indicate he was willing to do almost anything to stop Donald Trump from taking the White House, and likely did everything he could to cut Hillary slack on her interviews, her emails, and even the description of her national security lapses. Mueller fired him months ago, but the firestorm is erupting now. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein got a thorough grilling from House Judiciary Committee members, and folks, this is not over. Congressional Republicans want a special prosecutor to investigate the special prosecutor. Folks, we can't make this stuff up. President Trump fires up the troops in Pensacola with help from our own Congressman Ron DeSantis. That has some significance. We'll explain it. President Trump signs a defense bill to rebuild America's depleted military. Congress, you've got to step up now. Jeff Sessions says chain migration is to blame for the latest New York City terrorists getting into this country. President Trump is sending Americans back to the moon and then to Mars. Space Coast, that's music to your ears. We're coming to you live from the Daytona Beach studios of WNDB 93.5 FM, 1150 AM on your radio dial. You can also listen online by going to TrumpTalkLive.com and clicking on the link to tonight's live broadcast. Trump Talk Live also comes to you on Facebook Live through the Volusia County Republican Party Facebook page. You can also see a live web stream of our broadcast on YouTube by searching Trump Talk Live on the Vic Baker channel. You hear many voices of Trump's busy week through the audio artistry of our technical director, Phil Kincaid, and we thank Phil. Our thanks, as always, to Volusia TAR's chairman, Duncan DeMarche, who keeps the graphics running on Facebook and YouTube with capable assistance from teenaged Republicans Ian Escalante and Malcolm Swaggerty. Listen to podcasts of previous episodes with a free subscription to Trump Talk Live through iTunes or Google Play. I'm your Trumpublican truth teller, Vic Baker, hosting tonight's episode alongside the ever-insightful, fiercely dedicated chairman of the 2016 Volusia Trump-Pence campaign, Joe Fieldes. Joe, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Vic. Hello, friends. On December 8th of last year, which was yesterday last year, President-elect Trump went to Wisconsin as part of his thank you tour. We had just won the biggest election of all time and saved our country. So you know our Merry Christmas time was going to be great again.
Thank you, everybody. So when I started 18 months ago, I told my first crowd in Wisconsin that we're going to come back here someday and we are going to say Merry Christmas again. Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Evan. Happy New Year, but Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas indeed, Mr. President-elect. He was feeling good that night and wanted to share a campaign story with the people. It's one that many of us remember very well, and it always brings a smile.
And she had this massive convention center with a big fireworks display. And they were paying about $7 million for the fireworks. And it was a big deal, and they knew they were going to win until the final week. They knew bad things were happening. And I got a good sign when 4 days before the end, I called up Mike. They just canceled the fireworks. It was the front page story, they canceled. Now, usually you cancel fireworks because you don't want fireworks if you're going to lose, right? Did anybody ever use fireworks if they're going to lose? Governor, in the history of elections, if you lose, you don't set off fireworks, right? So they canceled their beautiful Grucci fireworks. And I wanted to be a wise guy, so I offered them 5 cents on the dollar for their fireworks, okay? I did. We never heard back. No, we never heard back.
Oh, I wonder what happened to all those fireworks. It doesn't matter, because the real fireworks on election night began earlier. Team Clinton was so sure they had Florida.
So then they go to Florida, and they're doing pretty well in Florida. Unfortunately, they forgot to count our votes. So all of a sudden, they get to areas that we just dominated, and we're sort of tied, and we haven't gotten to the Panhandle yet. She loves the I love the Panhandle, too. And they told one of the networks they were interviewing, yes, we feel very good about Florida. Florida is going to be ours. And North Carolina will be ours. That's the firewall, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has won the state of Florida. Right?
Oh, yes, you did it, folks. Now, Hillary actually tried hard to win Florida. She even had a couple of rallies where maybe a couple hundred people showed up. But she had no crowds at all in Wisconsin, which was considered in the bag by the Clinton team to the extent that Hillary never once visited Wisconsin. They fatally underestimated how many deplorable voters lived there.
So now we win all these states, and they're holding Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin.
Ho, 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 ho. You know, Vic, the election story of 2016 never grows old, never grows old. And coming up, we're going to talk about President Trump's latest Christmas rally in Pensacola, which was another high-energy celebration full of good news. So Merry Christmas to us all. God bless us, everyone. Vic, let's roll.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. President Trump today. Actually, it was yesterday. He was with families and taxpayers. And today, actually, he said this. Oh, that was actually yesterday he said this. Bigger paychecks, everybody, by February. How's that for a Christmas present? Let's hear what the president had to say about our paychecks.
If Congress sends me a bill before Christmas, the IRS, this is just out, this is breaking news, has just confirmed that Americans will see lower taxes and bigger paychecks beginning in February, just 2 short months from now.
How's that, folks? Okay. Now, he talked about tax release he talked about this as a candidate, of course, and he met with some taxpayers at the White House yesterday, and the White House is all decked for Christmas, and we go with Trump first, okay? Here's what he said about what he promised to do.
As a candidate, I promised we would pass a massive tax cut for the everyday working American families who are the backbone and the heartbeat of our country. Now we're just days away, I hope, you know what that means, right? From keeping that promise and delivering a truly amazing victory for American families. We want to give you, the American people, a giant tax cut for Christmas. And when I say giant, I mean giant.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, he introduced Bryant and Ashley Glick of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Bryant sells farm implements, and she works in healthcare. And they stepped up to the podium, and they explained what this is going to do for them in Cut 4.
Well done. Many of your predecessors promised that this reform was coming, but you did it. We are greatly excited about this. With the tax savings that we are going to see, we are going to put that money into home donations, and I'm excited that you were the one that got it over the finish line.
Yeah, and then he introduced Isaac and Emily Howard of Washington State. They're the parents of 5 children. They make a little more than $24,000 for their entire family. They feed their kids on that. And this means they get a 0% tax rate next year.
What this means to us as a family is that we will be able to pour out into our community, whatever that looks like, giving away to families that are in need or setting them up for success in any way that whatever God has planned for our family. I think that is our goal, and we are blessed to have such an amazing president, and what a good steward he is of our country. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. And President Trump, what are we doing with this tax cut? Let's listen.
We're reclaiming our destiny as Americans, a nation that thinks big, dreams bigger, and always reaches for the stars. We didn't become great through massive taxation and Washington regulation. And by the way, we are cutting regulation at a rate never seen before in the history of our country.
More about that red tape in a moment, along with the repeal of net neutrality and a whole lot more you don't want to miss when Trump Talk Live returns.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay with us for more fearless truth-telling on Trump Talk Live, making America great again.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
Are you near retirement age? Have you thought about your future living arrangements? How does a maintenance-free home sound? What about never having to worry about where you will go for future health care needs, or what you'll do if your money runs out? Find answers to all these questions and more at Alliance Community located in beautiful DeLand, Florida. At Alliance Community, you'll find the flexibility of living options such as single-family homes and duplexes, apartments, assisted living, rehab, and skilled nursing and memory care. Visit AllianceCommunity.org for more information. Take control of your future and choose for yourself before someone chooses for you. Alliance Community, independence for life.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back, Trumpublicans. Very big event today. It was anticipated. Ajit Pai chairs the FCC under Donald Trump. They have a 3-2 majority Republican on the FCC. A 3-2 party line vote today by the Federal Communications Commission repealed the controversial utility-like oversight of Internet service providers that was put in place by Democrats in 2015 to, they say, to ensure the uninhibited flow of data online. but real innovators say that really was inhibiting free enterprise on the internet. So the net neutrality, as most Democrat things like affordable care, things like that, they're usually the opposite of what they say they are. George Orwell language. This will free the regulators, the internet providers, that is, to charge different levels for faster service to different people, and it will also lead to billions of dollars of investment in faster internet for everybody. So it's going to benefit everybody in the long run. So despite the fact that they had a bomb threat at the FCC and they laid flowers in front of the FCC in memory of the neutral net, it's not neutrality. It's more government intrusion into the freest enterprise, free enterprise engine of growth that's ever been created, the internet.
Vic, we just took a big step away from the Chinese version of the internet.
Correct. And that's the way the Chinese, they were going to be able to choke things with regulation and perhaps even impinge on free expression and political expression. Okay, now, the other thing that Trump did is today he rolled out piles of paper, a very small pile of 1960 regulations, next to a huge pile today. And he talked about what he's done with deregulation. Let's listen to the first comment from the president on that.
For many decades, an ever-growing maze of regulations, rules, restrictions has cost our country trillions and trillions of dollars, millions of jobs, countless American factories, and devastated many industries. But all that has changed the day I took the oath of office, and it's changed rapidly. You've seen what's happened. We've begun the most far-reaching regulatory reform in American history. We've approved long-stalled projects like the Keystone XL and the Dakota Access pipelines. We're cutting years of wasted time and money out of the permitting process for vital infrastructure projects. We're scraping and really doing a job and getting rid of the job-killing regulations that threatened our auto workers and have devastated their jobs over the years, but they're all moving back. They're moving back into our country. Those companies are coming back, and they're coming back fast. We're lifting restrictions on American energy, and we've ended the war on coal. We have clean coal, beautiful clean coal.
Clean coal and a lump of coal for Chuck Schemer. Okay. Next comment about how many regulations, Mr. President, have you gotten rid of?
One of the very first actions of my administration was to impose a 2-for-1 rule on new federal regulations. We ordered that for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated. The people in the media heard me say that during the campaign many, many times. As a result, the never-ending growth of red tape in America has come to a sudden, screeching, and beautiful halt.
Now, Mr. President, you've not only kept that promise, but you've kept that promise tenfold, haven't you?
For every one new regulation, we have eliminated 22. 22. That's a big difference. We aimed for 2-for-1.
And got 22. I guess we lost the rest of that. But that's all right. So we finished that up. But Joe, what an amazing.
The president's going to do so many wonderful things for our country, and next year will be even better than this one. But this, taking a power saw to government regulation, is one of the best. This is going to free up this nation, this economy, the business people to go to work and make us great again, Vic.
Okay, let's turn on our prosecutorial hats now and go to Capitol Hill, where the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein was put on the griddle by the House Judiciary Committee today, or this week, over all this nonsense from Peter Strzok, the agent who was fired because he had all these anti-Trump texts, really vile comments about Trump, even some that sounded conspiratorial. We're going to start on that. First of all, Attorney General Sessions is actually weighing a special counsel to investigate a top DOJ official, Bruce Orr, over his wife Nellie's employment by Fusion GPS, which was hired by the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton to dig up dirt and actually imagine dirt out of whole cloth, actually invent dirt that didn't even exist on Donald Trump. So you got the Justice Department official in bed with the Democrats who were digging up false lies about Donald Trump. Okay, so go to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is interrogating Rosenstein. What more pattern of bias do you need, Mr. Rosenstein, to justify a special counsel to investigate Mueller's people? Number one.
Did the FBI pay Christopher Steele, and was the dossier the basis for securing warrants at the FIZZLE court to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign? Really, when you sum it all up, it boils down to those fundamental questions. Did you pay the guy who wrote it? And did you use what he wrote, disproven, discredited dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign? Did you use it to go get warrants to spy on Americans? That's what it comes down to. And you're the guy who can answer those questions. And yesterday I was convinced that the answer to those questions was probably yes. But today I'm even more convinced the answer is yes, based on the text messages we got to read early this morning.
Okay, that was all Jim Jordan. You didn't hear from Rosenstein. Now, text from Peter Strzok, the rabidly anti-Trump, pro-Hillary FBI agent. He wanted to know more about that. Let's focus on that now.
But I want to focus on one in particular. One in particular. And this is a text message from Mr. Strzok to Miss Page, recalling a conversation and a meeting that took place in Andrew McCabe's office, Deputy Director of the FBI, recalling a meeting earlier. And Mr. Strzok says this: I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office. Then there's a break. Dash, it says that there's no way he gets elected. No way Trump gets elected. He says, I want to believe that. You said that in the meeting in Andrew McCabe's office. I want to believe that. But then he goes, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. Now, this goes to intent. He says, we can't take the risk. The people of this great country might elect Donald Trump president. We can't take this risk. This is Peter Strzok, head of counterintelligence at the FBI. This is Peter Strzok, who I think had a hand in that dossier that was all dressed up and taken to the FIZZLE court. He's saying we can't take the risk. We have to do something about it. Now, don't forget the timeline here either, Mr. Rosenstein. Peter Strzok, January 10th, he's the guy who changes the exoneration letter from gross negligence, criminal standard, to extreme carelessness. July 2nd, he's the guy who sets in on the Clinton interview. July 5th, 2016, that's when Comey has the press conference and says, we're not going to prosecute. Clinton's okay, we're not going to prosecute. And then August 2016, we have this text message. The same month that the Russian investigation is opened at the FBI, August 2016. And my guess is that's the same month that the application was taken to the FIZZLE court to get the warrants to spy on Americans. Using this dossier that the Clinton campaign paid for, Democrats paid for, fake news, all dressed up, taken to the court. So I got really just a couple basic questions. Because it seems to me if the answer to any of those two questions, if the answer is yes, if you guys paid Christopher Steele at the same time the Democrats in the Clinton campaign were paying, or if you took the dossier, dressed it all up, took it to the FIZZLE court, and used that as the basis to get warrants, and now we have intent in this text message saying that there's another text message. My colleague referenced it earlier, where Mr. Strzok says, I can protect our country at many levels. Says it with all the humility he could muster. I can protect our country at many levels. This guy thought he was Super Agent James Bond at the FBI. This is obvious. I'm afraid we can't take that risk. There's no way we can let the American people make Donald Trump the next president. I got to protect our country. This is unbelievable. And I'm here to tell you, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the public trust in this whole thing is gone.
You can say that again.
Wow, Vic. Holy smoke.
Now, you got to listen. Andrew McCabe, by the way, Trey Gowdy said today, Andrew McCabe will be history by next week. He's going to be fired as deputy acting.
How could he not be? This is unbelievable.
Yeah, they're going to have to jettison him. Now, because he didn't show up for his testimony, they rescheduled to next week. Before he testifies, he'll be an ex-FBI employee. Now, what are you going to do to get a special counsel, a second special counsel appointed, Mr. Rosenstein? That's what Jim Jordan wants to know.
You're the guy in charge. You're the guy who picked Mueller. You're the guy who wrote the memo saying why he needed to fire Comey. You're the guy in charge. You could disband the Mueller special prosecutor, and you can do what we've all called for. Appoint a second special counsel to look into this, to look into Peter Strzok, Bruce Orr, everything else we've learned in the last several weeks.
Yes, Congressman, and I can assure you that I consider it very important to make sure the thorough review is done, and our Inspector General is doing a thorough review. That's how we found those text messages as part of that review.
You've given that answer like 15 times. Let me ask you this. are you concerned? I mean, this is what a lot of Americans are believing right now, and I certainly do, that the Comey FBI and the Obama Justice Department worked with one campaign to go after the other campaign. That's what everything points to. Think about what we've learned in the last several weeks. We first learned they paid for the dossier, then we learned about Peter Strzok, and last week we learned about Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie. I mean, this is unbelievable. So what's it going to take to get a second special counsel to answer these questions and find out, was Peter Strzok really up to what I think he was?
I think it's important to understand, Congressman, we have an inspector general who has 500 employees and a $100 million budget. And this is what he does. He investigates allegations of misconduct involving department employees. That review that he is conducting is what turned up those text messages. It will also involve interviews of those persons and of other witnesses.
And we're looking forward to his report, and we've met with Mr. Horowitz, and we're anxiously awaiting that report. But that doesn't dismiss the fact that the country thinks we need a second special counsel. 20 members of this committee, the Judiciary Committee with primary jurisdiction over the Justice Department, thinks we need a second special counsel. All kinds of senators think we need a special counsel. What fact pattern do you have to have? What kind of text message do you have to see before you say it's time for a second special counsel?
I want to assure you, Congressman, as I think the Attorney General explained, we take very seriously the concerns of 20 members of this committee or one member of this committee, but we have a responsibility to make an independent determination, and we will.
Okay, let's go on to Louis Gohmert. Love Louis Gohmert out of Texas. He was a little more gentle, but he was asking some very pertinent questions. He says to Rosenstein, is it illegal to leak an FBI memo that you wrote, as Comey did, of course, with his memo about conversations with Trump? Let's listen to that question.
If an FBI employee goes into a meeting as part of his job, in furtherance of his job, someone in the government, and he comes out and he makes a memo memorializing the meeting, perhaps in the future, past memory refreshed, is that memo DOJ property?
Generally, Congressman, I would think that it would be. It might depend on what's in the memo, what the subject matter is, but generally the answer would be yes.
Well, in the FBI employment agreement, there's a statement that says that, and this is the person agreeing to work for the FBI, all information acquired by me in connection with my official duties with the FBI and all official material to which I have access remain the property of the United States of America. I will not reveal by any means any information or material from or related to FBI files or any other information acquired by virtue of my official employment. If you make a memo of things that were discussed as part of your job, then it would be a violation of that agreement to send that to someone to leak to the press. Isn't that right?
It well may be.
Rod Rosenstein. We've run out of time, Joe. We're going to have to go to the break.
Comey, just to remind everybody, testified he did all of those things. He testified under oath that he did them.
Yes, he confessed to a federal crime under oath.
Yes.
Where's the prosecution there?
Indeed.
More Trump Talk Live with more of this in a moment.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay with us for information you'll never get from the left-wing media, right here on Trump Talk Live, where the deplorables are ignored no more.
Start your new year off right at the New Year's Day Flamingo 5K Beach Run, Monday, January 1st at the Flagler Avenue Beach Approach in New Smyrna Beach. This chip-timed race starts at 9 a.m. with registration at 8 a.m., featuring multiple age and gender award medals and plaques, plus costume prizes for the best flamingo-themed runners. The first 400 participants receive a T-shirt and a key that may unlock one of 10 beach cruiser bicycles. If you have the right key, you keep the bike. Join us for our post-race party at Flagler Tavern. And don't miss out on all the awesome New Year's prizes. Walk-ups are welcome. It's all part of First Day at the Beach in New Smyrna Beach. For race information and to pre-register, text Flamingo to 40691. That's Flamingo to 40691. Text rates apply. Sponsored by the New Smyrna Beach Visitors Center, Metro PCS, New Smyrna Beach Chevy, and brought to you by News Talk Daytona Beach, WNDB.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Okay, welcome back, Trumpublicans. We have Joe with the sponsors.
Yes, we love our sponsors. Marino's Pizza in DeLand, best pizza in West Volusia. Milne Roofing. Call Milne Roofing, 386-986-8688. Sonia Mori. Let's make her your State Farm agent. Ask Sonia for an insurance checkup. And South Daytona Storage and Offices, 386-262-1857.
Thank you, Joe. Well, you got to love Trey Gowdy. He was at Lincoln Day dinner a couple of years ago, and he gave a great address to us. Trey Gowdy, the veteran prosecutor who had never lost a case in court, had a few questions for Rod Rosenstein this week on Capitol Hill. He wanted to talk to Rod Rosenstein about the issue of conflicts of interest, and how does he explain to his constituents that these people are getting away with this stuff?
When I go home to South this weekend, trust me when I tell you, no one is going to ask me about any of those issues. They're going to ask me, what in the hell is going on with the Department of Justice and the FBI? The reason we have special counsel, this is a very important point, and you know it, the reason we have special counsel is because of a conflict of interest. The regulation itself specifically makes reference to a conflict of interest. And we don't like conflicts of interest because it undercuts people's confidence in both the process and the result. So let's be really clear why we have special counsel. There was either a real or perceived conflict of interest that we were fearful would either impact the result or people's confidence in the process. That's why we have something called special counsel, and that's why we have special counsel in this fact pattern. And then lo and behold, those who are supposed to make sure there are no conflicts of interest seem to have a few of their own.
They certainly do. Now, on Mueller's deputy Andrew Weissman sending that email applauding Sally Yates for defying the President of the United States when he issued a travel ban within the boundaries of his full executive authority. That is an interesting line of questioning, too, so let's start there.
And the senior prosecutor for this conflict of interest-free special counsel sent a fawning, obsequious email to a fact witness. And then we have prosecutors assigned to conduct this investigation who donated almost exclusively to one candidate over another. And then we have a prosecutor assigned to this conflict of interest-free team that attended what was supposed to be, what he'd hoped to be, a victory party for Secretary Clinton. And we have a senior DOJ official, Mr. Deputy Attorney General, with an office that used to be 2 doors down from yours, meeting with Fusion GPS. And Fusion GPS, of course, was paying for Russian dirt on the very person that they're supposed to be objectively investigating. And then that same senior DOJ official's wife, the one that met with Fusion GPS, his wife was on the payroll of Fusion GPS. And then we have a senior agent assigned to investigate Secretary Clinton's email, help draft the exoneration letter where we changed the language from grossly negligent to extremely careless, interviewed Secretary Clinton in an interview I've never seen, and I doubt you have either in your career as a prosecutor, interviewed Michael Flynn, was actively involved in the investigation into the Trump campaign before the Inspector General found his text. So this agent, in the middle of almost everything related to Secretary Clinton and President Trump, sent pro-Clinton texts, anti-Trump texts to his paramour in response to being told maybe he is where he is to protect the country from that menace, Donald Trump. He said, I can protect our country at many levels. And then he said Hillary Clinton should win 100 million to nothing. Now think about that, Mr. Deputy Attorney General. That's a pretty overwhelming victory. 100 million to 0. And when I read that last night, what I thought was this conflict of interest-free senior agent of the FBI can't think of a single solitary American who would vote for Donald Trump. That's where the 0 comes in. Not a single solitary American he can imagine would vote for Donald Trump. This is the conflict of interest free special agent assigned. And then he went on, if that weren't enough, to belittle Trump supporters by saying he could smell them at a Walmart in Virginia.
Now, he referred to the Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr, whose wife Nell was on the payroll of Fusion GPS and who, is tied in with conflicts of interest up to his ears. And Strzok, he's talking about virally anti-Trump and pro-Hillary. But they went on about Strzok a little bit more. We got more Strzok. Let's listen to Trey Gowdy again.
But he wasn't content to just disparage Donald Trump. He had to disparage Donald Trump's family. This is what he said, Mr. Deputy Attorney General. He said, the douchebags are about to come out. He's talking about our First Lady and children, this conflict of interest-free special agent of the FBI. This is who we were told we needed to have an objective, impartial, fair, conflict of interest-free investigation. So he's openly pulling for the candidate he had a role in clearing, and he's openly investigating a candidate that he has bias against. And then if that's not enough, he says Trump is an effing idiot. What the F just happened to our country? This is the same man that said he would save our country. What happens when people who are supposed to cure the conflict of interest have even greater conflicts of interest than those they replace?
Yeah, what indeed does that mean?
It's unbelievable, Vic.
So Rosenstein finally got to respond, and here's his weak reply.
Mr. Strzok was already working on the investigation when the special counsel was appointed. The appointment that I made was of Robert Mueller. So what I'd recommend that you tell your constituents is that Robert Mueller and Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray are accountable, and that we will ensure that no bias is reflected in any of the actions taken by the special counsel or in any matter within the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. When we have evidence of any inappropriate conduct, we're going to take action on it. And that's what Mr. Mueller did here. As soon as he learned about this issue, he took action. And that's what I anticipate that the rest of our prosecutors, our new group of U.S. attorneys, our Justice Department appointees, they understand the rules and they understand the responsibility to defend the integrity of the department. And if they find evidence of improper conduct, they're going to take action.
Vic Strzok was not fired. He was reassigned. What is that? The action? Is that
it? He was placed in human services, human resources.
This is the dramatic action they promised to solve all this?
That's not cleaning house, right? Okay. So the Robert Mueller probe is dirty as the dickens, okay? They're tied up with Fusion GPS that spread the lies about Trump. They changed the language that would have incriminated Hillary to something less than incriminating. And the person that changed the language, as well as the person who doctored up that dossier, was probably the same FBI agent who hates Trump's guts. So you don't think there's cause for action here?
If those of us old enough to remember Watergate, this is so beyond that. That was a lemonade stand that was overpricing its customers. This is unbelievable treason.
Jim Hoft of Gateway Pundit wrote this entitled, "The U.S. is engulfed in the most corrupt event in history and all roads lead back to former President Obama. While the mainstream media focuses on fake Trump news collusion farce, the U.S. is engulfed in the most corrupt event in its history. As a matter of fact, the fake Trump investigation is a major piece of the attempted coup d'etat currently in place, and the mainstream media's fake news reporting is part of that coup," says Jim Hoft. He said, just this week, former UN Ambassador John Bolton stated, "This is the first attempted coup d'etat in U.S. history." Bolton was right. This is the biggest challenge to the survival of the country since the Civil War. Today's Democrats would rather remove another Republican President Donald Trump from office than accept the results of the 2016 election. That is what it's about. It's criminal. Okay. Now, Roy Moore lost in Alabama. I'm not going to say a lot about it, except to say that I've interviewed Roy Moore. I've heard interviews of Roy Moore. I know that he sincerely believes what he believes, but he did not deny that he used to date young girls. He did tell Sean Hannity that he asked the mother's permission. That was crippling to his candidacy. Let's face facts, folks. Whether some of the charges were trumped up or not, the fact is he didn't come across as somebody they wanted in the United States Senate. So a lot of voters voted right in or didn't vote at all, and so they delivered the election to Doug Jones. But Doug Jones is a short-term lame duck already. He's got an election coming up again in 2020. And if he doesn't play ball with Donald Trump, he'll be toast before you can say breakfast.
It was a very unique situation. Mr. Jones, a wildly pro-abortion liberal, will not survive the 2020 election. No. We're just going to have to live with it for a couple years. It's not the end of the world. The things we just heard before are more closer to the end of the world than poor Mr. Jones.
So no more on Judge Moore. Now, back on camera. And now, they're trying to use, they lost their lever. The Democrats lost their level because Judge Roy Moore, they won't be able to use that as a beating stick for the next year. And Frankengroper is gone. They try to use that as leverage to say, well, Trump should resign. Well, you know, Kirsten Gillibrand, that loopy senator from New York, put out a tweet saying that Trump should resign because these women have reemerged with the same allegations they made before the election, which the people rejected then, and said he should resign because of those old allegations that Trump, you know, approached them with this one thing or another thing.
For Democrats to call for the president to resign, it's almost you got to take a number and get in line.
That's correct. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked by April Ryan, who is another viral anti-Trump reporter, whether Trump should apologize to Gillibrand, because he responded to Gillibrand by saying, I recall when she used to come to my office begging for donations and she'd do anything to get money from me for her campaign. And they said that that was Trump suggesting that she would commit some kind of sexual favor for the contribution. So let's listen to what April Ryan asked and how Sarah Sanders took her to school.
April? Gillibrand owed an apology for the misunderstanding from the president's tweet this morning, because many, including the senator, thinks that it's about sexual innuendos.
I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way. And so no, Hunter.
No, it's not. What he said was open, and it was not mined in the.
He's obviously talking about political partisan games that people often play and the broken system that he's talked about repeatedly. This isn't new. This isn't a new sentiment. This isn't new terminology. He's used it several times before. As I said a few minutes ago, he's used it several times before, referencing men of both parties, in fact. And so I think that if you look back at the past comments he's made, it was very clear what his reference was.
Take that, putting that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, that's the question. How about what's going on at the FBI?
Also, Sarah trolled April. Remember how April trolled her over the pecan pie that she made, suggesting that she wanted proof that she actually did it? Huh. So Sarah did a whole thing with April and presented her with a pecan pie.
Folks, this is the White House press corps with all that's going on in the world. These are the things they talk about there.
And CNN, the most busted name in news. Well, there's a terrorist attack in New York City. They're spending the day talking about how many Diet Cokes the president drinks. Enough said. We'll be back with more Trump Talk Live, and we'll go to Pensacola when we return.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay tuned as we peel away those layers of liberal hypocrisy right here on Trump Talk Live, where the deplorables are ignored no more.
Start your new year off right at the New Year's Day Flamingo 5K Beach Run, Monday, January 1st at the Flagler Avenue Beach Approach in New Smyrna Beach. This chip-timed race starts at 9 a.m. with registration at 8 a.m., featuring multiple age and gender award medals and plaques, plus costume prizes for the best flamingo-themed runners. The first 400 participants receive a T-shirt and a key that may unlock one of 10 beach cruiser bicycles. If you have the right key, you keep the bike. Join us for our post-race party at Flagler Tavern. And don't miss out on all the awesome New Year's prizes. Walk-ups are welcome. It's all part of First Day at the Beach in New Smyrna Beach. For race information and to pre-register, text Flamingo to 40691. That's Flamingo to 40691. Text rates apply. Sponsored by the New Smyrna Beach Visitors Center, Metro PCS, New Smyrna Beach Chevy, and brought to you by News Talk Daytona Beach, WNDB.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
If you want to find the most Republican part of the state of Florida, go to the Panhandle, go to Pensacola, military town, and it is solidly, it's close to Alabama, it's solidly Republican, very red. So, interesting little scenario. The president goes to Pensacola for a rally that was just over the line from Alabama. He was trying to promote Roy Moore indirectly. But normally the protocol is the congressman from that district is the person who introduces the president. Matt Gaetz is the congressman from that district. He did make some remarks. But the last person to speak before President Trump came on was Congressman Ron DeSantis of Congressional District 6. Both of those congressmen flew down on Air Force One with the president. And Ron is likely, I think in a matter of weeks, going to be announcing his candidacy for governor of Florida. So watch for a Trump tweet that may say something about Ron DeSantis anytime soon. You may. Ron said these words. He talked a little about Trump's history about getting things done when other people couldn't on cut number 2.
I'm glad you all came out for the president, and you see a lot of the stuff on cable news, what you read, but I just wanted to say a little bit about what it's like working with him personally, because you don't always get to see that with a lot of fake news and a lot of the things that's out there. But this guy is working his tail off for you guys and for the American people. He's on this tour in Asia. He's visiting, I don't know how many countries he's visiting, different time zones. And I go to bed one night and it says, Trump will be back in America soon. I wake up the next morning, he calls me, oh, Ron, how's things going? What do we need? And I'm like, don't you ever sleep? And the guy's got incredible stamina because he realizes how important this is for our country. You know, when you think about what the president did before he became president, everyone knows The Apprentice and everyone knows the big buildings and all the money, but some of the things he did, I think, has an analog to what he's doing for our country. You know, there was an ice skating rink in New York City. They spent $13 million, 6 years, and they couldn't get the thing to work. So what did they do? They called in Donald Trump, and he did it in 3.5 months ahead of schedule and under budget.
And that's not all. Let's take the story from the Bronx, Congressman.
There was a plot of land in the Bronx that Bloomberg couldn't do anything with, so they brought in Donald Trump. He brings in Jack Nicklaus, and they build a championship golf course right in New York City. Not easy thing to do, but he did it. And if you look in Washington, one of the places where a lot of people want to go now is the Trump Hotel. But that used to be an old rundown. They called it the old post office. The building was dilapidated. He came in, took it over. It's one of the best hotels I've ever been in. I don't have enough money to stay there, but I have gone there and seen it, and it is very, very nice. But
okay. And he's keeping a long list of promises, says the congressman.
I think there's an analogy to what he's done then to what he's doing now. People couldn't get the job done, so they brought in Trump. Well, other presidents have promised, for example, to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. But they didn't get it done. Who got it done? Other Republicans have promised to appoint constitutionalists to the U.S. Supreme Court and the lower courts. Has Donald Trump delivered on that promise? Yes. People said, oh, we have jobs going overseas, our taxes are bad, people can't bring money back for overseas profits. Did Obama ever do anything about that? No. We're getting ready to put a tax bill on the president's desk that's going to help our economy and create jobs. Trump is doing that. What happened when Obama was president with the rise of ISIS? They became very strong. They created a caliphate. What's happened since Donald Trump has become president? ISIS is losing ground. They're on the run, and we're on the march.
And he's getting it done in spite of enormous opposition from Democrats, the media, the deep state, the D.C. swamp.
And this is a president, mind you, who is facing unprecedented opposition from the Democrats, from the media, but I repeat myself, from the bureaucracy in Washington, from the lobbyists, from the other swamp dwellers. And through all of that, we're able to get things done for the American people. So as we go forward, after we get this tax bill done, we need to work with the president to drain the swamp in Washington.
Then the president takes the stage. We can't take you through all of his comments because I've got to reserve some time for some other stories. But here, 3.3% GDP, record high stock market. That's an example. Cut number 6. Let's talk about that.
Economic growth last quarter surged to 3.3%. You know it. You know where it was, right? When we started, you know where it was? Dingo. 3.3%, and it's going a lot higher. You know, I used to hear you'll never hit 3, you'll never hit 2.5. You figure maybe 2.3, 2.4. If we didn't have the hurricanes last quarter, we would have hit 4%, and everybody back there would have said that's impossible. We had a couple of hurricanes. You heard about it, right? You heard about it? The stock market is hitting an all-time high record for another, and think of this, 86 times since Election Day. 86 times. It hit a record. 86 times.
And America is saying 2 beautiful words now again, thanks to Donald Trump.
The department stores, right? They had the beautiful red walls. They had snowflakes all over the place. They had everything. Only one thing missing, the words Merry Christmas. They're using those words again. Do you notice? They're using those words again.
You also want to know that Donald Trump has achieved far more legislation than the fake news media would have you believe. Let's listen to Cut 22.
Working with Republicans in Congress, we've already signed 88 pieces of legislation. We get no credit. They always say, well, you know, President Trump really needs this tax bill because he hasn't passed any legislation. Well, so far in 10 months, we've passed more during this period of time than any other president in the history of our country. And the second, let's call runner-up, is Harry Truman was second. So we passed all of this, including the long-awaited Veterans Accountability Act. You know what that is, right?
Right. Trump is the antidote to Washington insiders who ruin America, okay? And he talked about Hillary's biggest blunder last year. You want to know the one word that was her biggest blunder? This word. Number 26 is our cut.
You know, they didn't think you existed. You know that, right? Remember? And you remember the word deplorable? How brilliant was that? I was watching her with that speech, and she was reading a teleprompter yet. And she said, deplorables. And I said, huh, that's not nice. She's talking about a lot of people. Little did I know I was right. That thing blew up. That was one of the reasons she lost. And now we're all proud deplorables. We're proud deplorables. Very proud.
It's been a busy week for President Trump. This week he signed the Defense Authorization Act. It's $700 billion. They will have to actually appropriate the money. But this is historic legislation that will rebuild our military. He commented at the time, because it was fresh in our minds, the New York City botched bomb attack by this guy who came in here by chain migration. Here's what the president said in Cut 2 about chain migration.
There have now been 2 terrorist attacks in New York City in recent weeks carried out by foreign nationals here on green cards. The first attacker came through the visa lottery, and the second through chain migration. We're going to end both of them. The lottery system and chain migration. We're going to end them.
Going to end them. And something else that Donald Trump is doing, he's sending Americans back to the moon. Now, the last president that issued that call was who?
JFK.
JFK. President Trump. Okay. Number 2, let's listen.
We are enforcing the laws again.
The directive I'm signing today will refocus America's space program on human exploration and discovery. It marks an important step in returning American astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972 for long-term exploration and use. This time, we will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. This directive will ensure America's space program once again leads and inspires all of humanity.
And we're back to wrap up. Joe, Jerusalem. They predicted, the whole world said, oh, you're going to blow the world up with this Jerusalem declaration. The street riots, the rage of the Palestinians, they apparently don't have the energy for it anymore.
I'm telling you what, Vic, next Wednesday, folks, is 11 months. It's only going to get better.
Make America great again, day after day and week after week. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double. Stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com for updates. Join your Trumpublican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony